Unit 18, Analysis 1 and 2. Some people get so caught up in the destination that they miss that life is about the journey. They're so focused on the finish line that they miss that the beauty is in what and who you become on the way to the destination. I've received so many blessings in disguise in the form of health scares, people passing away, breakups, breakdowns, and so much more. And the thing that has supported me most is trusting in the journey. There is always more than meets the eye in every situation, and when we trust and have faith that all is well, even when it doesn't appear to be, we open ourselves up to new possibilities that we can apply in our lives. When we trust the journey of life wholly and completely, we don't need to know what is unfolding or why. We simply need to be present to the experience of it. Trusting the journey means that even if we don't understand what's unfolding right now, we have an unshakable belief that it's happening because circumstances are rearranging themselves for our highest good. It means knowing that for every door that closes, a window of opportunity opens. I've noticed that many people get so down about the front doors slamming in their face that they miss the open window and the back door that swung open at the same time. Unit 18. Analysis 1 to 3. This story is of my father in the years immediately following my mother's death. My dad, alone in a small town he had never liked, had made the usual mistakes. Sold the house, changed locations, projected his loneliness outward into anger with the world. And then, at 70, he did something he had been wanting to do since he was a boy. He signed up for flying lessons. The lessons pushed his reflexes, his endurance, and his patience. The ground school was very hard for him to follow, but he wanted to fly, so he stuck with it. And at last there was only a physical between him and the solo flight. He went to the doctor and passed the medical exam, only to have his hopes dashed when the doctor said, "Sorry, I can't let you solo. You're 70 years old." As it turns out, there were no regulations about maximum age, so my father pushed ahead. He went to higher and higher authorities, submitted to more and more stringent physical examinations. Everyone agreed that he was physically fit, but still they said, "We can't let you solo. You're 70 years old." Finally, my dad found an official of high enough rank to admit there were no laws about maximum age. He said, "Pass one more test and you're in." So my father took yet another round on the treadmill, and at the end, the physician handed him a piece of paper that read, "Harry Killerin, qualified for solo flight." My dad shook the doctor's hand, put the paper in his wallet, and started to leave the office. "Wait a minute," said the doctor. "When are you going to fly?" My dad looked at him, and I expect he grinned as he said, "Do you think I'm crazy? I'm not going up in any airplane alone. I'm 70 years old." Practice 1 and 2. A glacier is a massive, slow-moving river of ice, so you won't mind us giving it a shove back the way it came. Come on, push as hard as you can. Any luck? How about if you bring in a fleet of tow trucks? Well, it's still hopeless. Even hills and rocks can't stop a glacier. It plows right on through whatever is in its way, slowly carving out massive U-shaped valleys as it goes. The forces involved are tremendous. But what if we string a giant water wheel kind of thing over a glacier and try to convert its kinetic energy into electricity, as we could with a river? Can we solve the energy crisis using glaciers? Well, let's continue with our thought experiment and find out. Let's say our glacier is a 1 cubic kilometer block of ice. Its mass is roughly 10 to the 12 kilograms, 1 followed by 12 zeros, because water weighs 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter. And let's say it moves, like the Bird Glacier in Antarctica, which is the biggest in the world, at a speed of around 0.00001 meters per second. Then its kinetic energy is a not-so-whopping 50 joules. Convert all that to electricity, and you get a low-energy bulb lit for a few seconds. Again, energy isn't giving us the full picture. Glaciers are unstoppable, but they have about as much energy as a student physicist after the final exam. Practice 3 to 5. John Gruhl was a cartoonist for the Indianapolis Star. He had a very unusual habit for a grown man. he always carried a doll wherever he went. None of John's coworkers made fun of him. Everyone already knew what had happened. One December day in 1914, John's 8-year-old daughter, Marcella, was playing in the attic at her grandmother's home. Marcella's eyes suddenly lit up. In a wooden chest was an old tattered doll. It had no eyes, no nose, no mouth. It had belonged to Marcella's mother when she had been a little girl. Right then and there, Marcella adopted the doll as her own. Excited, she, with the doll in hand, headed off into the snow to the star. Rushing into her father's office, she displayed her wonderful discovery. Her doll needed a new face. Putting his work aside, John took the doll from his daughter's arms. Carefully, with his pen, the cartoonist drew the basic features. That night, Marcella's mom went to work on the doll. She restuffed it and made it a dress with a white apron. Marcella was delighted with the transformation, but now her doll needed a name. After thinking a bit, her parents came up with Raggedy Ann. Everyone in the Gruel household fell in love with Raggedy Ann. John made up fanciful tales about the marvelous adventures of Raggedy Ann, and it was not long before the doll began to appear in his comic strip, Mr. Tweedledee. One day Marcella became ill. As she lay in bed, her doll was always by her side. Her father continued to make up stories about Raggedy Ann. The stories comforted Marcella, and John hoped they would encourage her to get well. But she died in 1916, with Raggedy Ann clutched in her arms. In time, John started writing down the stories he had made up for his little girl. Eventually, dozens of his hand-illustrated Raggedy Ann books were published. He and his wife began handcrafting small quantities of the dolls. As John would later write, it was our way of coping with Marcella's death, and to assure that in some way our beautiful little daughter lived on forever.